Hey, my name is Kat Lee, and you are listening to the Hello Mornings podcast, where my goal is to help you build habits peacefully so that you can impact your world powerfully. And today we're going to be talking about something that is pervasive, that is something that I feel like new believers, as well as extremely mature believers, deal with. And that is guilt about their morning routines. We're going to talk about a couple reasons why that might be, and three ways that we can fight it. The first thing that we want to talk about why we feel guilty about our morning routine. So here's the thing. We think that it should be easier, right? We feel like, well, I'm 50, for example. And I think I'm 50. I should have this nailed down by now. It should be easier for me to spend time with God because I love God, right? And I should be able to get up and get in the Word. I should be able to do all these things. But then sometimes I don't actually look forward to it. It feels like this massive to-do list, this giant checklist that leaves me feeling overwhelmed. Maybe you can relate to that. So let's ask ourselves some questions like why? Because too often when we encounter some sort of resistance to something that we want to do, some sort of negative emotion or guilt about something that we want to do, we don't go deep enough in asking questions because usually if that thing is from the enemy, it breaks down after a while. If it's from the Lord, then we get clarity. So when we think, oh, yeah, my morning time should be easier. My question is, according to like what chart? Like what chart is there out there? What checklist of Christianity is out there that says that having a morning routine should be easier for me? Like there is none. It doesn't exist. There is no chart. There is grace for each of us to grow in the way that God designed us to grow. So too often we measure ourselves against something that isn't even there. It's like fighting ghosts. There's literally nothing there for us to measure ourselves against. And yet we feel guilty about this imaginary thing. And so it's kind of like opening the closet, the idea of like when you're a little kid thinking there are monsters in the closet, but if you just open the door and turn on the light, you realize that nothing is actually there. So when you start having these feelings like, oh, I miss my morning routine. This was hard. Why? It should be easier. Just ask yourself, according to what chart? Like, where does it say that? Who is telling me that? What is the source of that? And probably more often than we would expect, it's the enemy trying to keep us from spending time with the Lord. We can also ask ourselves, well, I should kind of have it down by now. I am a grown adult with free will, and I should have this down. I've had a morning routine before. It's worked in many other seasons. I should be kind of an expert at this. And this makes me kind of channel like my inner third grader. When somebody says something to you when you're in third grade and you say, says who? We can ask our own self-doubt that when the enemy tries to trigger that guilt and self-doubt that we should have something down now, we should be farther along. Well, says who? God does not have a linear list of how we should grow in our faith. He simply calls us to follow him. So once we kind of squash some of these questions that we have, some of these moments of self-doubt that we have, sometimes we get to a sort of foundational issue where we say, well, it's hard because I feel guilty that I don't look forward to my morning routine. Well, the cool thing is that's an easy fix because we just need to design something that we love. We just need to create a morning routine that we look forward to and that we don't dread and that doesn't feel overwhelming or like a checklist. So let's talk about that today. How can we design something that we love, a morning routine that we love? And we're going to talk about three things. We're going to talk about foundation over fruit. That probably sounds kind of weird, but just stick with me. We're going to talk about foundation over fruit, curiosity over condemnation, and systems over self-discipline. So the first one is foundation over fruit. Now, this is actually a really, really, really big one because whenever we want to build something that truly we want to be a habit, we tend to look at it more as a goal. So I might say I want the habit of working out, but really what I'm thinking in my head is my goal is to, you know, lose 2 dress sizes by December, whatever it is. But those are actually 2 different goals. It is one thing to build a habit of exercising regularly or eating more healthy, but it's a different goal to get that result. So as you're thinking about your morning routine, I want you to think about it in 2 different ways. Your morning routine will either help you build the foundation, the habit, or it will give you the fruit. And sometimes it can do both. But if we look at it in those 2 different ways, we don't discredit the smaller mornings that we have. So let me give you an example. We often think, okay, I'm going to start with the morning routine. So I feel like to make up for the fact that I haven't had a morning routine, I'm going to read through the entire Bible in a year, which is a lot. It's a big change. That's a hard thing to do. But we feel like we need to make up for what we haven't been doing, or we feel like we need to have results immediately. But really, that's not how growth or building works. If you think about building a house, if I was going to build a brand new house, it probably wouldn't start with me putting up walls tomorrow, right? I'd have to get permits. I'd probably have to get soil samples. I would have to level the ground. Maybe I'd have to bring new soil in. We'd have to dig holes for pipes. I know nothing. I know nothing about building a house. So just bear with me. You have to dig holes for pipes and all of those things. And then maybe after several weeks, months, I don't even know, you start laying the foundation. And then finally, walls start going up. Let me give you another example. The same is true of a garden. You plant the seeds, you do all the work, you water, you tend, and you see nothing for a while. But then the seeds start to grow. There's a whole bunch of work that happens underground. There's a whole bunch of foundation that happens before we see fruit if we want the fruit to last. Yes, I could just go outside and build a fort with some plywood I have in my garage, and the next storm will knock it down. But if I build properly, if I build in a way that the home is going to last, it's going to take longer. And so we need to put value on building our foundational morning routine instead of just feeling like we need immediate fruit from it. Because ultimately, the fruit is up to God. We just need to be faithful in showing up. So let's talk about some ways that you can plant a seed for your morning routine. If you've been around Hello Mornings for very long, you might be familiar with the 3-minute morning routine. If not, I'm going to explain it to you. And I know your immediate reaction might be that's too small, but bear with me. So the 3-minute morning routine is just 1 minute of God time, 1 minute of plan time, and 1 minute of move time. It's 3 minutes. It doesn't necessarily require a Bible, a planner, or any fitness equipment, and that's the point of it. The first minute is just to pray Psalm 143:8, which says, "Let the morning bring me word of your unfailing love, for I put my trust in you. Show me the way I should go, for to you I entrust my life." Now, that's a beautiful verse to start your day with. What if you wake up and instead of all the anxiety, all of the worry, all the planning, you're starting your day just asking God to lead you? That's a peaceful way to start your day. The second minute, and of course you can replace that with any verse. The idea is just, let me just start myself grounded in the word and prayer and with a heart expectant to connect with him. The second minute is plan time. And I really want to reiterate the fact that our planning time and our moving time, we do all of that with God. It's not like my God time ended. Now I'm going to think about my day and plan and leave God behind. No, we want to invite God into our day and move forward with him. So I like to start by praying through my calendar. I'm like, okay, God, I've invited you into my day. What on my calendar today do I need to focus on? What needs to stay? What needs to go? What encouragements do you have for somebody that I'm going to have a meeting with today? Or is there anybody that I need to give a text or a call to? Just praying through the next 24 hours and asking God to lead me and guide me in that. Then the final minute is move time. And the idea is just God has given us these bodies that we can use for his glory. How can I take care of it? And so my recommendation is just to slow down, not get anxious about your schedule, because we can just walk with Jesus and take it step by step. Maybe stretch a little bit and take several deep, slow breaths. And it's just 3 minutes, but it's a powerful way to start your day because, one, you can do all of this in bed while you're laying there between snooze buttons. So your alarm could go off. You could hit the snooze button. You could do your 3-minute morning routine. And then what you've done is you've planted 3 seeds. You've planted the seed of God time. You've planted the seed of plan time, and you've planted the seed of move time. Granted, none of those singular moments are going to change the world, except maybe the prayer one, because God is like the trump card. He can change anything. But what you've done is you kind of planted the seed to lay that foundation that can become a consistent habit in your life. Because how powerful is it to imagine yourself 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now, starting every day like this, with your eyes on God, even if it's just for 3 minutes, rather than doing something for 30 minutes or 60 minutes and then petering out after 3 weeks. There is something powerful in faithfulness. And that's really what we want to ultimately cultivate with our morning routine, a faithfulness to turn our eyes to Jesus, a faithfulness to follow him day by day by day. And he can bring about the fruit and the results that we long for. There's a verse in Zechariah 4:10 that says, "Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin." And I think too often we do despise the small beginnings. We don't value them. We don't believe they're doing anything, but we need to trust that when we plant the seed, that fruit will grow. We have to trust that when we lay the foundation, we will have a strong tower that we can rest in. So I encourage you to value foundation over fruit. The second point that I want to make is to be curious and not condemning. So if you miss your morning, if your morning routine was supposed to be X, but you did Y instead, let's say you're supposed to do a Bible study that takes 30 minutes, but you didn't have 30 minutes because you woke up late, and so all you did was listen to a worship song on the way to work. Instead of saying, "Oh, I failed, I messed up," what if you said, that was interesting. I didn't get my morning time in like I had planned to. What happened? Do you see how one of those reactions shuts the door? I failed. I can't do it. There's no room to move on after that. But the other one, curiosity, leaves room for questions and then answers and then solutions and then success. So if you miss a morning, my heart, my prayer for you is that your first thought would be to be curious and maybe even bring that to the Lord to say, "God, I missed my morning time today. It's not what I wanted it to be. Help me be curious about it instead of condemning." Let me show you a few questions you can ask yourself, because you can be a scientist of your own behavior. And I think that's absolutely fascinating because we get to remember that we are not a set person. We are in process, and God is doing a work in us, and he's not done. So that means that we can always change and we can always grow. And if we have that perspective, it gives us that open door to continue to learn and grow. So here's some questions you can ask yourself. You can say, that's interesting. I wonder why that didn't work. Or you could say, well, what made this hard today? Like, what were the specific situations that made this more difficult? Maybe I didn't sleep really well. Maybe I'm really tired. Maybe my Bible was in my car and I was going to have to go get it. And that kind of threw me off. What part broke down? Maybe my alarm went off. I did my 3-minute morning routine. I was going to do more of a Bible study, but then my kids woke up and came and got me. What did I expect my morning to feel like? Expectations are big. And if we recognize what our expectations are and where they diverge from our reality, then sometimes we can find solutions for that. What small change can I try tomorrow? So there's something about recognizing that something didn't work, being curious about why, and then experimenting with a solution. Y'all, that is an absolutely powerful process to have because it's our tendency and it is the tool of the enemy for us to just take on guilt, to shut down, and to just hide away. Because if you think about it, whenever you have felt guilty about something, has it ever drawn you closer to that thing if you didn't embrace grace in the process? Our immediate response to guilt is to hide, right? Our immediate response to guilt is to avoid. So we always need to pair guilt with grace. I like it's my pretend math equation. And it says guilt plus grace equals growth. Guilt can sometimes help us recognize when we've done something that we don't want to do. But then grace is the only thing that keeps that door open so that we can actually grow. So my challenge for you is the next time you have a morning routine that doesn't go the way that you had hoped it would go, just ask yourself these questions. Maybe even journal about it for a few days. If you feel like you're in a streak of it not going like you want it to go, just journal for a few days. Even if it's a voice memo, you can just pick up your phone and say, start a voice memo and just start talking. Well, I didn't have my Bible time today. Why didn't I do that? Well, I didn't know where I was going to read. And just keep talking and keep processing, and it'll help you get the insight that you need to hopefully come up with a solution that you can use in the future. Okay, so the third point when we want to build guilt-free morning routines is to use systems and not just self-discipline. Okay, y'all, this is another huge one. I think this kind of comes from the idea that we feel like we have to already have it together. We feel like we should be farther along when we might not be. And that can be kind of frustrating for us and kind of discouraging as well. But the truth is that our willpower is incredibly unreliable at 6 a.m. I don't know about you, but I know that for me at 6 a.m., when my alarm clock goes off, I want to do the most comfortable thing. That is my first inclination, whatever is most comfortable. However, if we have a system in place, it can make our willpower kind of irrelevant. For example, I was a counselor at youth camp a few weeks ago, and the system in place was that I had to get my girls up at 6:30 a.m. to start getting ready for the day. So I got up at 6 a.m. and I jumped out of bed because I knew I had a limited window to get ready before the bathroom was going to be crowded. And so that system helped me to get it done. So let me give you another example. I can guarantee for you a method for you to wake up early, to exercise regularly harder than you ever have before, and probably to get more fit than you ever have before. I guarantee it. It's called joining the US Army or whatever country you're in, whatever military you have. That is a guaranteed way to wake up early, to exercise, and to get fit because you have zero choice. You have zero options. There are systems in place. There are structures. All you do is show up. You show up, people yell at you, alarms go off, bugles get played, you get woken up at whatever time. Everybody around you is moving towards this one goal. Structures are in place and systems are in place for you to become this one singular thing. It's kind of the same with kindergarten. A kindergartner in and of themselves have zero ability to teach themselves to read or to do math or to stand in a straight line. But kindergartens and teachers have systems and structures in place that help craft 5-year-olds into little students that learn to read and learn to write and learn to do math and learn to stand in a line. The problem is that as adults, there aren't many systems for us. We have to find our own systems. We have free will, we have options, we have lots of freedom. So we need to create our own systems or find systems that we can become a part of. That's why people often join gyms or sign up for a class, because it's a system that exists that they can jump into to help them do what they want to do. That's why people join Bible studies or whatever it might be. So it's not that we can't. It's just that we don't have the systems in place yet that work for us. And that's where our curiosity and our experimentation comes into play. And that's why curiosity is so, so powerful, because we have the opportunity to create systems that work really well for us, that make it easy for us to get up and start our day with Jesus. So let's just cover kind of some ideas, some suggestions. So one system can be as simple as, setting out your clothes the day before. It could be setting the coffee pot, and some of the coffee pots have timers, or you could plug it into a smart plug so that your coffee brews for you. I mean, it's pretty easy-ish to wake up when you smell your coffee brewing and you didn't have to do it. That's a pretty good system to have in place. You could have your Bible and journal and highlighters where you're going to see it or where you're going to access it easily. So there's the system of setting things up the night before. There's the system of just kind of reducing decisions. We have decision fatigue. We have to make so many decisions in the course of a day. So what if we made it easier and just did the first step the same every day? You started your morning routine the exact same way every day. And one way to guarantee that you're going to do it a little bit more easily is to lean into dopamine, because our brain works off dopamine and not so much discipline. Like we have to use energy to employ discipline. But dopamine, if we just follow the thing, can come naturally. So how can you start your morning routine with something really joyful? What brings you joy? Could be the smell of your coffee. It could be the process of making your coffee. It could be lighting a candle or turning on some favorite music. Never underestimate the power of music to move us and help us to focus and help us to do what we want to do. It could even be playing the same song every morning so that ultimately your brain associates that song with that thing. Like at youth camp, we learned this. There's a song called Church Clap by Lecrae. And there's like a dance that we do to it. I'm terrible at it. No one needs to see me do that, but we do it because I try to be a good camp counselor. And that song is now on my playlist because I practiced it before camp. And when it comes on, it's hard for me to not move because I associate that song with that dance with camp. What if you could have that for your morning routine? And just taking the time to brainstorm these things that work for you, that inspire you, that get you up and get you going. You could also do like an if-then plan. So if I oversleep, then I'm just going to focus on my 3-minute morning. So it might be that you would ideally had wanted to do, a deeper Bible study or something. But if you have a plan for when it doesn't go according to plan, then you feel less guilty about the choice that you make in that moment. Another system that you could have is to add friction to distractions. So you can charge your phone outside of the bedroom. You can move apps off the home screen if you use your phone for your Bible. There's actually a study done in the General Hospital. I want to say it was in Baltimore. And the goal of the study was just to see how they could impact people's choices by moving things around in the cafeteria at the hospital. So they moved all the unhealthy drinks to the back and moved all the water to the front. And then they labeled things that were like healthy drinks or healthy foods with a green label and all the things that were unhealthy with a red label. But they never told people what to do. They never said you have to drink this or you have to not drink that. But just by placing those things in the new spaces, just by labeling them, so essentially creating systems there was a 40% increase in the amount of water drunk and a similar decrease in the amount of soda consumed. Drunk isn't, you know what I mean, in the amount of soda consumed. So without anybody even having to use willpower, but just being aware and there being systems in place, it allowed people to make better decisions. So how can we use that with our morning routine? Another system that you can put in place is just to have a 2-tier option. So you can have your fruit morning routine and your foundation morning routine. So my foundation morning routine is to have my 3-minute morning. And then my fruit morning routine is me doing the Through the Word Bible study. I tend to be in the middle of several at the same time because I enjoy them so much. But that's kind of my 2-tier morning routine. So if life is crazy, I do my 3-minute morning routine for sure. If I have more time and I didn't forget or oversleep, then I have my deeper Bible study. So if you have that approach, it allows you to give yourself more grace when you just do the foundational morning routine. All right. So let me bring this back around. If you want to build a guilt-free morning routine, you want to focus on the foundation over the fruit. Again, not that the fruit isn't important, but it doesn't need to be our first focus. We want to plant that seed. We want to lay that foundation first and then trust that God's going to bring something from it. We want to focus on curiosity over condemnation. How can we be curious about the places where we fall short and come up with a solution for how we can grow rather than condemning ourselves and just getting stuck? And how can we use systems instead of just self-discipline and trying to gut it out and then feeling like a failure when it doesn't happen? How can we make everything just easier for ourselves so we have to make less decisions and use less self-discipline? Because ultimately, we just want to build a routine that we love. Let's think about it. Here's a routine that we do often. Let's say it's somebody's birthday. The routine is to open presents and eat cake. Is there anybody that doesn't like that? Maybe. I'm not one of them. So if you think about all the routines in life that you love, maybe it's a favorite vacation spot. Maybe your family went on a vacation. Somebody you're like, that was amazing. Let's go back. If you find a restaurant in town and something that you really like to eat, you think, I wonder when we can go back. We are designed to return to the things that we enjoy. So let's build a morning routine that we enjoy. Most importantly, not only is a foundation greater than fruit, curiosity better than condemnation, and systems better than self-discipline, but love is greater than fear. And I don't want us to walk in fear of any sort of punishment from a God who only wants to spend time with us. He's not disappointed with you. He's not frustrated with you. He truly just wants to be with you, to walk with you morning by morning and day by day. Lamentations 3:22 says, because the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. John 10:10 says, the thief comes only to steal and to kill and to destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. And Zechariah 4:10 says, do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. So my encouragement for you, my challenge to you is just keep showing up. Just get your foot in the door. Just get started. But if you want a deeper action plan, I have a 3-step one for you that follows what we've talked about. The first one is just to choose your foundation. Is it the 3-minute morning? Is it something else? Pick something today. What is your foundation habit? The second one is just commit to curiosity. So be your own scientist. If you don't do something that you wanted to do, journal about it. Do a voice memo, process it with a friend, but be curious. And then 3, start a system. Brainstorm and put one system into place today, whatever it might be. It could be a Post-it note on your bathroom mirror. It could be an alarm that you set. It could be scheduling your coffee. It doesn't need to be perfect or permanent, just an experiment. Just try something. So I hope that's helpful for you. I hope that you feel equipped to build your own guilt-free morning routine. And I'm so glad that you joined me today on the Hello Mornings podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe. My name is Kat Lee, and I will see you next time on the next episode of the Hello Mornings podcast.